to delve into the state of the Japanese economy. We're joined by Nicholas Economides, professor of economics, Stern School of Business at NYU. Good evening to you, and thank you for coming back on the show. Always good to have you. What is your thoughts on this meeting between Japan and the U.S.? There is a lot of cross currents underneath, so I want to get your take on it.
Well, thank you, Phil. It's great to be on the show again. I think this visit was mainly about the defense type of issues, defense cooperation, and a big move by Japan to increase its spending on defense. And that would mean also more imports and more cooperation of defense-related equipment from the United States.
Okay, so Japan says, and I saw the same headline, that they're going to spend significantly more money on defense. Okay, now some could argue it's offense or defense, but bottom line is they're spending more on the military. The U.S. seems to support that overall, and obviously China has a concern here. Do you think those concerns are justified?
Well, you know, for many decades after World War II, things were stable all over the world, and nobody dared question the borders, except in out-of-the-way places. But Russia's invasion of Ukraine changed this, and changed this radically. So there is a new type of uncertainty, uncertainty about the borders, and everybody's worried about it. And I can see that both China and Japan and the United States are worried about it. And the usual response to this type of worries is spending more on the military, and that's what is happening.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. No matter where you are in the world and you see what's happening there in Ukraine and Russia, you can't help but think that, you know, there's more risk in the world today and we need to spend more on defense. That said, you could also argue that that's even more important today, that places like Japan, China, U.S., and you named a country, that it could spur potentially more cooperation as well, could it not?
It could. I think the invasion of Russia, to some extent, reshuffled the deck.
You mean Ukraine?
I'm sorry, well, I forgot what I said. The invasion of Russia of Ukraine has reshuffled the deck. I mean, in a sense, the international relations need to be redefined. And in that context, higher military spending might give an advantage to countries in getting more out of the new order to be defined compared to the past one.
Yeah.
And because of that, I would expect that all the major powers are going to spend more on defense, and the minor ones are just going to buy more weapons from the major ones. So unfortunately, that's where we are. It's not good. I mean, a lot of this money is in some way wasted. I mean, in some way it doesn't really, is not productive. But unfortunately, until things settle down in the post-Russian invasion world, we're not there.
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about the economy in Japan. And I view the Japanese economy, which is one of the biggest in the world, not quite where the U.S. is in terms of recovery, not where China is necessarily with the recent sort of reopening. They're kind of somewhere in between, but people forget that Japan also was extremely worried about the pandemic. They had a ton of restrictions of people going in and out, and they also are in recovery mode as well. And today we are finally seeing some meaningful inflation numbers that are hitting Japan, and they're saying, okay, well, here's how we combat it. We're going to pay our workers more, and you saw me talk about that earlier. Is that the right response?
Well, first of all, we have to see that Japan is doing better than other countries by having lower inflation, and that's because they came out of COVID slowly, and because for many years they had negative interest rates. So that created conditions for relatively low inflation, and they have a decent 1.5% growth. Now, how is this going to play out? It's likely that the inflation is going to go up because it just has been delayed because of their slower reopening. Now, increasing everybody's salary by 40%, I think it's unreasonable, in my opinion. And not only it won't happen, but if it did happen, it could fuel inflation further, and it wouldn't be a good idea.